G'day and welcome to Darwin in Australia's top end, a travel destination like no other. With its rich Indigenous cultural scene, diverse culinary offering, a turbulent history to explore, and epic natural landscapes within easy reach, you're in for the holiday of a lifetime. I'm Adam Ford from Top Oz Tours, and in this episode of our YouTube travel series, we bring you tips for 10 amazing things to do in Darwin. We'll mingle with the mega-crocs at Crocosaurus Cove. Settle in for a city tour with AAT Kings. Check out the museum and art gallery of the Northern Territory's Cyclone Tracy exhibition. Hitch a heritage ride and learn the story of the Bombing of Darwin. Cruise Corroboree Billabong in search of wondrous wildlife. Shop up a tropical storm at the Mindil Beach Sunset Market. And much more. And as usual, we'll chat with lots of local guests, so watch this video all the way through for insider tips and travel intel. But before we boogie, take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more amazing travel ideas. We've teamed up with TFE Hotels to bring you details of two great places to stay. The first is the Travelodge Resort Darwin in the CBD, resort by name and resort by nature. I loved the relaxed feel of this property with its light, airy rooms and lush pool area, complete with a bar and casual poolside dining. Keep an eye out for some colourful street art around the hotel. More on that shortly. Later in this episode, we'll be relocating to the fabulous Adina Vibe Hotel, Darwin Waterfront. Not only is this hotel superbly located, it's also a part Indigenous owned and operated success story. Alrighty, well, welcome to very cool Austin Lane here in the heart of D-Town, as it's fondly known locally. Now, if you are staying in the Darwin CBD, like I am at the Travelodge, you're ideally placed to explore the city's incredible street art scene. And of course, the Darwin Street Art Festival takes place in August each year. But if you're not in town for that, simply download their app and head off to explore. There are more than 20 large-scale murals in Austin Lane alone, but don't stop there. You'll find sites dotted right across the city centre. Bustling Mitchell Street in the heart of the CBD is bar and backpacker central, but it's also home to some of the largest critters in this particular concrete jungle. Crocodiles are a fact of life in the NT, and Crocosaurus Cove will bring you face to snout with the highly dangerous saltwater variety. Tell us about the crocodiles who are here. How did they come to be here, I guess?
Yeah, easy. So everything in the park is native to the top end. So we've got a diverse mix of reptiles, crocodiles, and animals that live in the aquarium, so our fish and our turtles. With our crocodiles in particular, we have 6 large males and a large female. And all the large males came out the wild initially, and they were problem animals. Unfortunately, we hunted them almost to extinction in the early 70s. There weren't many big crocs left, so maybe in the next 20 years or so we'll see some really big crocs come through. But at the moment, if you've got a 5.5 metre animal, then you've got a decent sized animal.
Oh! Got that one. Let's talk about some of the individuals. So there's a bit of a love story going on. Tell me about William and Kate.
So William and Kate are our resident couple. They are a very unusual couple of crocodiles because they live together all year round. Sometimes with our big large male crocodiles, they'll actually eat the female when it's not breeding season. William and Kate have been a couple for over 20 years. They were a couple on a croc farm. So Katie is probably about 2.8 metres long and William's over 4.5. And I definitely think she wears the trousers in the relationship.
It's Charlotte's job to retrieve any eggs laid by Kate to keep them safe from Will's, and these newborns are certainly a chip off the old block. In addition to regular entry, Crocosaurus Cove offers a selection of premium experiences, including the Cage of Death, which will see you lowered into a pool with a hungry salty at feeding time. There are more hungry locals looking for a feed in the CBD, but these ones don't have you on the menu. The Aquascene fish feeding sanctuary at Doctor's Gully has been entertaining visitors of all ages since the 1950s. Hundreds of fish enter the sanctuary at high tide each morning for a feed of fresh bread. It's reasonably priced to feed the fishies and will leave your day free for more sightseeing. Now, if you're looking for a way to keep your cool while seeing more of the city, I have the answer next. Alrighty, now there is a lot to love about this city tour of Darwin with AAT Kings. You can sit back, relax and explore the city in air-conditioned comfort. It is a delight. You also have deluxe seating, in-seat power and live commentary from our amazing guide Warren. Let's catch up with him right now. Now tell us about the tour. Just tell us what guests can expect first of all.
Well, arriving into Darwin, it's nice to have a bit of a look around the township and get your bearings as such. So we include a lot of the highlights of the city itself. We also include the Aviation Heritage Centre, which is probably one of the best aviation displays in Australia. Got some spectacular aircraft in there. The B-52 bomber is a big one. They used to stop here and refuel during the 80s, during the Cold War between America and Russia. So the Americans have lent us one. They haven't asked for it back yet, but we've got it in the hangar there. It's one of only 2 around the world, I believe. We also include the George Brown Botanical Gardens. It was rebuilt after Cyclone Tracy. It copped a lot of damage, of course. George Brown was instrumental in the rebuilding process, so they've named that after him. So you've got rain trees, the big boab tree there. Got the beautiful fountain there, of course, and Woody the Python is up in the rain tree. We met him too. He's an Oampelli python. He's a sculptor. He's a bit of an...
Oh, is that a sculpture?
Yeah. Did you think he's real? No.
I'm going to tell you, I think most people on the tour thought he was real.
Yeah, they do, but I have to bring it to them in the end. He's a good work of art, yeah.
The tour also includes a visit to East Point Reserve and the wonderful Museum and Art Gallery of the Northern Territory, which we'll check out later in this video. All in all, this city tour is a half day well spent. Keeping cool also comes easy at the Darwin Waterfront Precinct, which offers safe year-round swimming in its palm-fringed lagoon and wave pool. The Precinct is also home to a plethora of dining and shopping options, all of which are on your doorstep at the Adina Vibe Hotel, Darwin Waterfront. Co-Indigenous owned and with more than a third of its workforce of Aboriginal heritage, this stylish accommodation option offers both hotel rooms and apartment-style stays and displays an array of stunning Indigenous artworks. In-house eatery Curve is situated just steps from the waterfront's facilities and offers all-day dining. There's also an in-house pool and a cocktail bar, which is a lovely spot to adjourn to after a hard day of sightseeing. Vibrant sunsets define Darwin during the dry season, and the best place to enjoy golden hour is on the water. Darwin Harbour Cruises offers an evening departure from Stokes Hill Wharf on its tri-level catamaran Charles Darwin. You can push the boat out on a dinner cruise, but I've opted to gaze and graze on the upper deck. A grazing platter is included in the cruise price and drinks are available for purchase. Yep, life doesn't get any better than this. Now, the 25th of December 1974 is, of course, a date etched into the psyche of Territorians. That was the day that Cyclone Tracy literally tore the city to shreds, claimed multiple lives. There's not a lot of evidence around the CBD now of the damage caused by the storm, apart from the remains of the Palmerston Town Hall and the portico of the Christchurch Cathedral on Smith Street. But the Museum and Art Gallery of the Northern Territory's Cyclone Tracy exhibition is an absolute must-see.
So our Cyclone Tracy exhibit has been around since 1994 and it's changed over time as people have changed. When it first was put up, it was only 20 years since Cyclone Tracy had happened, and most people weren't interested in remembering it because it was a shocking time. It changed Darwin forever and it changed the history of the Northern Territory. As time's gone on, people have been more interested in remembering in different ways and commemorating what happened and those lives that were lost. And now, in the lead up to the 50th anniversary, we're actually getting a feel that people want to commemorate, and they're very keen to do that, but they also want to celebrate that Darwin is resilient, that they were resilient and they were able to pull through a huge natural disaster, and we have this beautiful tropical city 50 years later.
Tell us what people can expect from the exhibition itself, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay, so there's a lot of imagery because that shows visitors what actually happened and the destruction that happened during the cyclone. We have a railway signal tower that's been bent over and it still has pieces of corrugated iron in it from Cyclone Tracy, like embedded in it. So it survived the 1897 cyclone that destroyed Darwin, the 1937 cyclone that destroyed Darwin. It also survived the bombings, but 1974 it was bent over and by Cyclone Tracy. There's also touch screens, so there's one of the most important ones is a list that allows you to search for yourself or for friends or family that were in Darwin that were evacuated. We're always going to have a Cyclone Tracy display because of what it did to Darwin. It's something that we can't forget. 66 people died and a city was destroyed, and we need to have that in our memories. Cyclones are a part of life of Darwin, and Cyclone Tracy was one of those ones that changed Darwin forever.
Darwin is, of course, no stranger to disaster. The bombing of the city by Japanese forces during World War II caused widespread devastation and well over 200 deaths. Yet it's not a chapter of our history that's widely known. Learn more at the excellent Royal Flying Doctor Service Darwin Tourist Facility, which tells the story of the initial bombing of Darwin on the 19th of February 1942 in gripping detail. You'll also get an insight into the service's vital work in outback Australia. History buffs will also love the Darwin history and wartime experience, which will see you riding high in a military-era Studebaker known as Betty.
So it's a history tour. It's mainly World War II history. We do a little bit on the early explorers and Cyclone Tracy as well. Takes just under an hour and a half, with the option of some of the tours you can get out at the Military Museum halfway through, and if you do that, I pick you up on the subsequent tour an hour and a half later and finish off the back half. I get a lot of comments about people not learning this sort of stuff when they went to school. It's in the school curriculum in the last 10 years or so, but a lot of people prior to that wouldn't have heard too much. They might have heard that Darwin was bombed once. Of course it wasn't, it was bombed on multiple occasions, bombed one of the most heavily bombed cities in what they call the Southwest Pacific. So that's starting to be learnt about a bit now, but certainly prior to 10 years ago, not much about it was taught.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about Betty, if you wouldn't mind?
So old Betty's a 1942 Studebaker. Wartime history, hard to elucidate what that was, but certainly know it's post-war history from 75. I picked it up in about 2011 and spent a couple of years doing the conversion, passenger conversion work on it, right-hand drive conversion, all that sort of thing. And the seats you can see in the back there. So that all had to be done, and then we got firing in about 2013. So there was about 1,200 of these brought to Australia, American-made, as are a number of other vehicles. And this is one of a select group of about 10 or 15 of the earlier models that we don't know the actual history of that early arrival.
One of the sites that David will point out to you on the tour is the World War II oil storage tunnels. Built by the Civil Construction Corps towards the end of World War II, today the tunnels are possibly one of the most atmospheric war museums in the world. The interpretive boards are beautifully presented, and the museum has recently launched an engaging virtual reality host known as Adfaman, who you can summon on your smartphone.
In 1942, tension lay thick in the air like the humidity of a toasty tropical Darwin day. War was on our doorstep. And with the rising sun behind them, the Japanese dropped more bombs on us here than on Pearl Harbour. But as they say, it's always darkest before the dawn.
Now, if you're keen to spot crocs in the wild, join a day tour with Wetland Cruises out to Corroboree Billabong. I caught up with tour guide Evan, better known as Evo, to find out more about this amazing day out from Darwin.
So these day tours, we pick people up from down and we take them out to Fog Dam to start with, and that's renowned for its bird life. So heaps of birds out there, and you know, sometimes you see crocs and yeah, a bit of history on Fog Dam. And then from there we drive here to the pub, and that's where people have a bit of a break while we get your lunches organised, and then we take people out to the Billabong, and that's where we've got a 2.5 hour cruise. The Billabong itself is just a big pocket of water which is just sitting there, so it's a dry season thing. In the wet season everything joins up to big floodplains and things like that, so it's quite different in the wet. So very sort of dynamic, changing environment throughout the year. But the dry season's the time to actually access the Billabong, so your winter months.
Just walk us through what you can see as the cruise progresses.
Oh look, definitely crocodiles. You know, that's one thing we can generally find people. I think there's only one tour I've done in the 7 years where we didn't see one. I mean, they're amazing animals, have been around for 250 million years. The usual size of the big males is around sort of 4.2 metres. But yeah, you get smaller crocs, you know, they could be male, could be female, but the big ones are the males. When there's a big wet season like we've had this year, there's just so many animals, lots of birds, lots of different varieties of birds, magpie geese and darters and big you know, white-bellied sea eagles, and yeah, sometimes your jabberoos that we saw today, frogers, it's all happening.
So lunch is included, tell us a bit about that.
So the lunch is just a sort of mixed salad lunch with cold meats, and we have vegetarian options and vegan options and things like that. Everyone gets their own little individual lunch packs, and yeah, we just hand those out. They're made fresh here at the tavern, so we pick them up in an esky, take them out with us to the Billabong and have lunch on board the boat.
Are people surprised that they can have this kind of wildlife experience so easily from Darwin?
Yeah, it's not that far, like an hour and a half from Darwin down to the Corroboree Billabong, so it really isn't that far, and people are stoked that they get to come out for a day trip to see it all happen, and then they're back at their hotels by 5 o'clock. It's a bit of an adventure when you get out there, and yeah, I just love showing people, you know, my backyard basically.
We wrap up this video where else but at the famous Mindil Beach Sunset Market, which takes place on Thursdays and Sundays during the dry season. This colourful collage of sights, sounds and smells is utterly charming, and you're bound to pick up a unique souvenir of your stay in the top end. When hunger strikes, grab a tub of tucker and head down to the beach to clock yet another incredible sunset. For more ideas for great things to do in Darwin, just head to our website.